Yes, yes. I remember being on um, my porch when I was young, dancing in front of some relatives, dancing and singing. But I'm like, that doesn't sound like a quiet one or a shy one. But after this incident, I became withdrawn. And then there was another incident. There was this teenage girl that lived next door to me, and she pulled me on the side of the house. It's like my house, her house, and we're on the side of the house. And when you're talking about that target on your back, I don't know why she did what she did to me, but she put her hand in my underwear, and and I got away from her as fast as I could. And you talking about stay in the house? I didn't want to go outside. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I had a target on my back. Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And and I thank God that I had enough sense to know that that was wrong at such a young age.
Mm-hmm. And go ahead, Prophet Chris.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Elder Avi, you said in chapter 4, you mostly reminisced about being a kid and doing fun things like jumping rope and the old school things that we used to do. And then one day, he had showed back up,
Mm-hmm.
and your heart must have sank. And what was you feeling at that moment? You
Yeah.
know, it was like the devil came back into town, but not
Hmm.
only came back into town, moved back into your house.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Nothing but sheer, but pure fear.
Mhm.
That's it. Fear.
Wow.
He's back. Yep.
I think another interesting thing too, and this is a good question because it starts out with lies. Lies. What lies have you believed? It's the way the enemy, he just plants seeds that are mixed into the truth, and he's there's a part of you that is already struggling with self-esteem, and
Hmm.
he's putting things in your ear. And
Mhm.
over the years, there's the self-doubt, the self-hatred, the fear, and everything builds up. Just a lot of people have unresolved trauma from their past that they've never dealt with, and
Mhm.
they're midlife now. They're 40s and 50s, and they're still struggling with things that they never dealt with as a child. And it's because the enemy's right there, constantly
Hmm.
whispering lies in our ear.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. Lies. Just that fear, the shame, or maybe even guilt, like, well, why did I even go over there? Why did I put myself in that situation, or even taking on the fault, like it's my fault? No, but no, it wasn't your fault. Um, no one's going to believe me. They're going to blame me for it. There's just so many lies that the enemy will tell someone to stop them from coming forth because he wants them to stay bound. He wants them to stay stuck right there in that trauma instead of coming forth and exposing their truth.
Mm. And you know what, Elder Ivy? You mentioned something about an experience with another young lady. And the crazy thing is, when I read your book, that reminded me of the experience I had with another young lady who was a little older than I was.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't believe the level of perversion
Mm-hmm.
and demonic activity that perpetuated from that one experience. And I didn't tell my mother, I didn't tell my sister, I didn't tell my family what happened. It's like, what in the world? I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting anything like that to happen to me. Like, that's not something we even think about or consider until when it happens. And so it's like we don't only have to worry about the males, right, or
Mm-hmm.
male friends, but even our girlfriends
Right.
that the enemy will use to introduce homosexual behavior. And it's
Right.
like we're not expecting it. And it's
Right.
like, it's amazing how common it is. But even as a kid, it's like I didn't feel comfortable
Mm-hmm.
sharing, like, mommy, this is what she did to me. It's like I never said anything. I don't
Right.
think I told my mother yet anyway. Anyway, she might watch the show tonight. But a woman introduced me to that. And like I said, it didn't stop there. perversion and that continuous perverted behavior, it continued from that one incident. It was
Yeah.
this one lady who touched all of our friends.
Mm,
Right? And we were hanging out together, and our parents were none the wiser. And so we
right.
had to be careful, like you said. I don't care who, you're not saying by nobody's house. Because even though you think your friend is a male, your friend, she's a woman, a girl, like if the enemy wants to use you and move in, he can come through anybody.
Right.
You
Right.
know? It's like
Absolutely.
it's crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right now, prophetess, expose it. That's right. Get it out. Yes. And and homosexuality is so rampant now and just out in the forefront, the agenda in the schools right now. You could be whoever you want to be, filling our children with a bunch of lies and perversion, having these sex change operations. It's like your mind hasn't even fully developed yet. It's like, why? Parents are to be parents and not their children's friends. No.
Amen. And Elder Avi, you also talked about how secrets breed generational curses and they're passed down. And you said they must be exposed and brought to the light. And that's so true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's what's happening in my family. Passed down, but the buck stops here. I'm exposing it.
Amen.
And I would encourage everyone like to get her book, Expose It. It's like, oh my goodness, it is such an eye opener. And even as she touches on so much, for children, for the adults, even for the abusers. I think it's one of those books that's like, even if you've never experienced abuse, it's like it helps to understand the many others who did. Right. So that even when you're in relationship with those who were abused, you can understand them even better. Like, and she even has questions to ask for those people who may have entertained alternative lifestyles. Like she asks very poignant questions in her book that I think would be really beneficial to really just sit down and think about. This is she wrote a phenomenal book. I know it was Holy Spirit led. Like it is phenomenal. And we definitely would encourage, pick up that book. And we have a comment from Monique here. And she says, Elder Ivy, thank you for sharing your stories of your younger days. As children, we don't know any better. And we have other people, sometimes not parents, raise us. And we follow in those ways, believing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you have to ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? Why did you choose the lifestyle that you have chosen? There's just so many. The enemy is slick and cunning, right? And children are being groomed. That's the key. They're being groomed at such a young age. You'll have that older man or that older woman giving you things, giving you trinkets, giving you money, buying you things. They're grooming you because one day they're going to take the opportunity to violate you.
And you talk about that also in your book in chapter 7. You talked about how he had even named his TV repair shop after you, and how he was trying to bait you, and how he was grooming you. That's just like a narcissist type, narcissistic type of behavior.
Yep. Grooming me right under my mother's nose, grooming me. But it did not work. I tell you that. I hated the man with a passion.
Amen.
Hated him. And there. No, go ahead.
I haven't had a chance to read most of the book yet. I just had a question. So I'm looking at what's going on in the media now. I don't want to mention anything specifically, but how entertainers are being exposed and how there was so many people around that had knowledge of what was going on and never came forward or never did anything to stop it. Because like you said earlier, we're protectors, and it's not just anyone who has knowledge of what's going on. It's your responsibility.
Yes.
you had, anything to say.
Yeah. Um, I don't think those that were protecting, do they even realize that they were committing crimes? It's not okay to drug people and violate people. It's just not okay. They're criminals. They have committed crimes. And, some of the people went to the places, had drinks, but did they say yes? They couldn't. All right. So we just have to be mindful and careful about what we do, where we go, and who we fellowship with, basically. Be careful.
Amen.
And absolutely, Monique, the truth will eventually be brought to the light. Yes. Oh, and you had to learn the hard way. I'm sorry to hear that. Yes. Mm.
I wanted to say something. Like the whole time you've been talking, like from the time when you read the first part out of your book, like I have just been sitting here thinking about my granddaughter and thinking about my mom. Because my mom, all my mother's sisters, my grandfather was their dad, and he molested all of them. And then my mom, when she had me, some things happened with my dad. He was out there, lust, had a lot of women, all of that stuff, and did some things to her. And then because of that, she didn't want to have anything to do with me because I looked so much like him. So as a young child, she pretty much kicked me to the curb. Even to this day, she doesn't even really have anything to do with me because of that.
Mm.
And so I'm sitting here thinking about what she went through, having your dad, not a stranger outside of the house, but someone inside of the house that is your blood
Yeah.
doing this to you, someone that's supposed to protect you. And then they exposed it. They told my grandma. My grandmother knew about all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But still being in that house and still living with what happened. And then, like you said, having a target on your back, and you go out and you meet a guy or a girl and they do the same thing to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like repeating. And then you have this child, and all of a sudden your heart has become so cold because you don't trust people anymore because of what happened to you. You living in fear of what if this person, what if, like you're paranoid thinking everyone is going to do this to you. And then you can't even have a relationship with your own child because your heart is so cold
Mm.
because of what happened to you.
Mm.
And so I was sitting here thinking about my mom, how some people can get delivered from the spirits that enter them whenever this stuff happens, because there's a transfer of spirits, any sexual, anything like that. Spirits are being transferred. You're becoming one with whoever and whatever they got, one. And so stuff is being transferred. So if you can't get delivered from those spirits and they attack your heart and your heart becomes cold, you pretty much affect everyone in your life after that, not even knowing. I mean, you may block it out and you may think you're okay,
Mm.
but everyone that comes around you, they're not going to be able to experience real love from you
Yeah.
because the enemy has stolen it, and he's closed your heart to
Mm.
people because of the pain. And so I was just sitting here thinking about that, and also with my granddaughter when you said 9 years old,
Mm.
and how the enemy is after the innocent, and
Yes.
he wants to taint them and pollute and make us unclean,
Yes.
and damage us. So that's why I've just been pretty much sitting here quiet, because I'm thinking all of this stuff, how the enemy this is his strategy against us.
Yeah.
And And it's to basically, what I'm getting from it is basically to make our heart cold and
Mm.
for us not to trust people
Yeah,
anymore. Because if you're paranoid and scared of everybody, you can't love them, because you can't have love and fear in the same place.
absolutely.
One is going to cast the other out.
Right, right.
So, but
Absolutely.
that's what I was just sitting here thinking about.
Yeah, I know. I was watching you. I'm like, she's not saying anything, but I see you're thinking about your family, you know. Thank you for sharing that. So your mom sounds like she just needs healing. She hasn't dealt with her trauma. And it's going to take the power of God, the love of God to overshadow her heart, to soften her heart. And I'm thinking about you and the rejection you must have felt growing up from your mom. But you're in good company because Jesus was rejected, right? And just have those conversations, open conversations with your granddaughter. Let her know, baby, I don't care who it is. Tell me. Do not keep secrets. I'm not going to get mad at you, but I need to know so I can protect you. Yes, Lord. Mm.
She's pretty, one thing, she's pretty open. They tell me their dreams, they tell me demonic spirits they see, all the stuff that they don't tell their mom. They're
Yeah.
pretty open with stuff that they can't talk about. Cause everybody knows me. I'm like, I put stuff out there anyway, so I don't care if it sounds terrible or not. So I try to encourage people to do the same. And so my grandkids, they're very, they tell me pretty much everything.
Mm.
But I was
That's
just looking, just
yeah.
kind of like checking out the enemy's plan, because this is his plan, and how he's able to accomplish this stuff through us and to create what he wants in us. Like he knows how to create a cold hearted person. He
Yes.
knows how to cause us to hate someone,
Yes.
what to do, what to cause them to do for hate to enter into our hearts, or unforgiveness. And so he has a plan that he's trying to damage our hearts, trying to, like what the Lord has always told me, the enemy is always trying to
Mm.
remove love from our hearts, because God is love. And if
Yeah.
he can remove, the more love he can remove from your heart towards people and
Mm.
God, and then he totally takes you away from God, and then you become pretty much possessed by demons because you have less love and
Yes.
for people. So that's why it's so important to, no matter the pain, the hurt that people are doing, to still try to love them with everything in you, because you have to have love. You
Yeah.
have to hold on to that. And
Yes.
so, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's the strategy that he uses against us. And it works for a lot of people.
Yes, it does. Yes. Love overcomes fear. Absolutely.
I wanted to say to anyone that might be listening that um, has experienced this, or know someone who has, don't try to carry the burden. This
Mm.
it's a killer. It's this, um, and there's a design. So you know, find someone that you trust, and you got to trust. Um, and, and I say to myself, there's a panel here. You can reach out if you feel like you don't have anybody else. Um, but definitely try to find someone close to you that you can talk. You know,
Mm.
if you don't feel safe, that goes even more.
Mm.
We have a comment from Monique who just wants to recognize Apostle Michelle, because Apostle Michelle said how she shares openly, right? And she has so many videos on deliverance that has helped so many people, including myself. I love those videos that she shares. It's so important in our journey of healing and deliverance. And so Monique says, Apostle Michelle, I came across your videos during a tough time in my life. You have a gift, and I thank God for having him send you to me.
Mm.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Monique, for sharing that. Amen. And so we're going to go to a quick commercial break. And when we return back, we're going to talk about what are some things that keep people from coming forward with their truth. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a moment. Amen. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Strategy Room. We're talking about exposing the enemy. And we have our special guest with us, Elder Ivy Caldwell. And so we have some new people who have joined us. So welcome to the Strategy Room. Welcome to the show. We would like to hear from you. Let us know where you're joining from. And we'll go ahead and proceed with our next question for our special guest.
So,
Go ahead.
Elder Abby, what are some things that keep people from coming forward? Why do they just keep it to themselves and not expose it?
The main one is fear, not wanting to be judged or looked at differently or talked about. They may say, "No, I'm not going to put my business out there." Believing the lies of the enemy, but not realizing that, if you don't come forward, if you don't say anything, you remain stuck in that place.
Mm-hmm.
And once you do expose your truth, it is so liberating. All right. You're no longer a bondage with the thoughts in your mind. You have these constant thoughts, negative thoughts about yourself, about others. The thoughts about yourself, they're just lies from the enemy. He's constantly feeding you a bunch of lies. But once you expose your truth, you begin to feel free.
Mm-hmm.
Find someone in your circle that you trust and share your truth, share your story with them so you can start healing. God does not desire for you to stay in that place of fear.
Yes, and you also talked about how fear brings the following spirits with it. You
Mm-hmm.
talked about how fear brings phobias, nightmares, terrors. Because of the trauma, sometimes we have fear of death,
Yes.
fear of man, and then it brings about a lot of stress and anxiety, doubt, mistrust, and even heart attacks. You
Mm,
said fear is the tactic of the enemy, and once we open our mouth, the fear does not have power over us anymore. So then the fearful child is no longer afraid. The fearful child is afraid to smile and enjoy
mm,
life. I growed up under a lot of fear, just
yeah.
a fear and a lot of anxiety and insecurities and stress, even as a young child. But once we open our mouth, the fear don't have any power over us anymore. Once we can find someone safe to talk to that we trust, it brings about so many trust issues with people. And,
Mm,
we find ourselves sometimes at an older age still dealing with childhood trauma
mm-hmm,
that happened when we were 6 or 7 or, teenagers.
mm-hmm. Absolutely. Another thing too about fear is, watching the scary movies, and the spirit of fear can enter. Or, as children, sometimes we like to scare our siblings. A spirit of fear is entering. I know grown folks that sleep with the light on. A spirit of fear. It's like something happened. There was a traumatic event that happened,
Mhm.
and fear entered it, and it hasn't been dealt with yet. So fear is very serious, is real. um, watching over your shoulder, you know, thinking it's going to happen again. Um, but you got to deal with it. You got to face it. You must face it. I have 5 steps I'm going to share with you to expose your truth. All right. So, number one is face it. You can run, you can hide, you can pretend, act like it didn't happen. But until you face it, it's going to stay right there. Step 2, I want you to confess it. Confess it to God. This is going to be your first soul dump. You're going to cry. You're going to be afraid. The enemy going to try to come and tell you not to do it. But talk to God. He can handle it. Step 3, I want you to speak it. I want you to find someone in your life, in your circle that you trust. Schedule an appointment with them sometime and tell them, you know what, sis, you know what, bruh, I need to talk to you. I just need to share my heart with you. I need to be real because you've been fake. You've been faking the funk all these years, but it's time to be real and tell the truth. Number 4, you're going to forgive it because you have no choice. The forgiveness is for you and not the other person. You're the one that's in prison, and the other person has gone on with their life. What they say, it's like having poison and wishing that the other person would drink it, but you're the one poisoning yourself because you're harboring this unforgiveness and bitterness in your heart. And step 5 is exposing. We are not exposing our story to make anyone look bad. As you read my book, did my mother look bad? No. I expose my truth to be an encouragement to someone else, to help someone else along the way. I am not going around talking about anyone trying to make them look bad at all. But I want to expose my truth to help you get on the other side of your trauma. Those are the 5 steps that I use in my coaching program to help women to get across that hurdle because it is a hurdle.
That's so good. That is so good. And I think one of the things that stand out to me is when you were saying those 5 steps is we oftentimes feel like we have to protect somebody else, and so that burden, it becomes a burden, feeling like you have to protect someone else. I don't want to expose my family. I don't want to expose this person or expose that person or another person, and it becomes a burden to protect. And then, like you said, then we still carrying those wounds. We're still carrying the pain. We're still carrying, just like the hurt and the trauma because we're trying to protect other people to the point where we don't get our own freedom, And so sometimes that protection can become a burden.
Yeah. Yeah. But that protection part, you know who you're protecting? You're protecting yourself because you don't want nobody to know. But I want you to think about those innocent babies in your family, the innocent children in your bloodline, because you refuse to expose it. Think about them and the possibility of the enemy doing the same thing to them that was done to you because you refuse to open up your mouth and expose it.
Another thing, I heard something recently about forgiveness, but realizing all of this is a process. It's not like an overnight thing. It's not going to happen. Forgiveness, they say that sometimes you have to make a conscious decision to forgive that person every morning. Because you think you're there, you think you're over it, you think you've healed, and then boom, it pops right back up about something.
Yes.
You just have to get it over again, and sometimes you just do it every day. That's understanding that, and understanding that you're not going to say it one day and it'll be done the next day. It will help a lot.
Yeah, it absolutely is a process. Some people say, I'll never forgive them. So I'm like, well, I don't think you're going to make it to heaven because we must forgive because God has forgiven us for so much. And remember, God has already mapped out your life. God knew the incident was going to happen. He knew the family that you were going to be born into. Forgiveness is a choice.